We got to finish this up quick because I got plans tonight.
¿Qué tienes esta noche? Vamos a podcast.
Golden Bachelorette. There's a new episode I need to watch.
La Golden Bachelorette. ¿Qué es eso? O sea, ¿qué es eso?
It's like, just the normal Bachelorette, except everyone's in their 60s.
¿Están en los 60s? ¿Y personas quieren ver este programa?
Yeah, they made a TV show about people in their 60s. And guess what? Joan, the Golden Bachelorette, is a total smoke show.
Oh, es tu novia.
Yeah, she is. But, I'm so inspired that I'm going to be the next Golden Bachelorette.
Pero, Marcy, no eres vieja.
Yeah, I know. But they're going to change the rules. They're going to make an exception just for me after they see my face.
Pues si vas a hacer una excepción, tienes que ser excepcional. Tienes que ser alguien que pueda entrar a cualquier cuarto alrededor del mundo y sea la más bella dama de ese cuarto. O sea, alguien grande, alguien poderosa como Tilda Swinton.
We are already chaotic in here. We're already speaking multiple languages because we're talking about Julio Torres.
Where the homosexuals at?
They're right here. But yeah, I love how in Julio Torres' show, Los Espookys, that they got the English, they got the Spanish, they get subtitles for both. It's a show for everyone.
It's a show for at least people that know either English or Spanish or both.
Yeah, if you
some of us in this podcast.
Yeah, I guess if you only know French, you're kind of screwed. But hey, this is still better than a lot of shows.
I think everyone in the world agrees with that.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about Julio. We're going to talk about a few different pieces of art that he's created. But yeah, I'm excited to hear.
And check this out, all of them bangers.
Yeah, we got.
Well, except maybe a season 2 of one of them.
It's funny because you literally said in a previous episode that both seasons of Los Espookys were great, and now I like how you're going back on that after rewatching season 2.
Can't the man change? Can't the man grow?
Character growth, exactly. But yeah, Julio's such an interesting guy. Like, I think a lot of people noticed him first when he was on SNL, but I know that you've been doing some listening, so I think you know a little bit more about where he was even before SNL.
Yeah. I mean, I've been listening to a little bit, but what's good, yo? It's Dovewhether. I'm AP,
and I'm Marcy.
Julio Torres is from El Salvador, San Salvador, and he lived there. He grew up there. He was kind of living life till 18 as a precocious, persnickety child to a mom who's an architect and fashion designer. She had the shop, and he, along with his family, lived at apartment above that shop. And much like every Latino boy with a little bit of a...
AP's, doing the classic gay limp hand right now.
Dreams of going to New York City.
New York.
We were there.
Yeah. We saw Cola Scola there, and wow, Cola Scola is in Fantasmas. So, there's definitely a shared universe going on over here.
Yeah, there's no of the Chicago versus New York stuff going on here. We're all love, baby. We're all love.
We're not doing like Second City, Second Fiddles over here. As long as you're cool, we can do an episode on you.
And Julio immigrated to New York City after finishing a 2-year degree in advertising in El Salvador. And he actually went to the New School out in New York, and he got a degree in English. From there, a star is born.
Exactly. Yeah, and now we have the Julio of today. He's had multiple TV shows, a hit comedy special, a movie with Tilda Swinton. You know, I wouldn't say he's quite on top of the world. He, as we'll discuss, he's still kind of a little niche guy, but you know, that's what Dovewhether is for. We're here to uplift the niche.
We're for the niche guy.
Yeah. So yeah, let's start talking about first Los Espookys. So this is a show that I watched when the first season aired, and honestly, I didn't love it at first. Like, I was expecting it to be funnier, and I watched the whole first season kind of hoping that I would start liking it more. I had friends who like really hyped it up.
But you watched it without subtitles, right?
We had the subtitles. But the second time, when I rewatched it for this podcast, I liked it a lot more. And I think part of it is because I'm more in touch with my queerness. Like, I really appreciate all of Julio Torres' outfits and the little, you know, zazzle he puts on everything, and how everything is just so uniquely him.
Everything really is uniquely him.
Yeah.
Like Los Espookys jumps from kind of like spooky gig to spooky gig, and in all of it, he is in there adding details everywhere. Like he's very much a detail guy.
Yeah, like you see it in everything he makes, but like in Los Espookys, you know, it's about 3 to 4 friends who are enlisted to do various things over the show that involve making things spookier. You know, whether it's like with makeup, whether it's with a bed that swallows people.
Which that's like him, right? Like he fought for that in the show, like as Andres, the character, and like he wanted it, and because he thought that's the best way of doing it, and it's just constant with him as Andres to be this kind of like very arrogant, hard-minded, creative type. Couldn't be him though.
Yeah, I like this thread in the first season of Los Espookys where Ronaldo is his character who wants to follow his dreams, wants to make a movie with this icon played by Carol Kane, who made the movie.
The actual queen herself.
Yeah, who made the movie about the woman with one eye. He wants to do that, but it conflicts with his dreams, and that's, you know, that's kind of a theme for multiple of the characters, because, you know, you have Julio Torres' character who is about to be betrothed to the cookie empire guy.
His name is Juan Carlos.
Uh-huh.
Juan Carlos is such a dildo.
Yeah, it's definitely an example of like, you can have gay characters who are just completely unlikable, and it doesn't have to be homophobic.
It's just like his like smile, like his whole vibe is just like, I don't trust you, bro. Like, why does it feel like you're guessing how much blood is running through my veins right now?
Yeah, that's definitely a guy who, you know, I wouldn't say he's quite like
why are you in Peter Thiel's phone?
Like, he's not quite a Boys Town gay, but he's definitely like, you know, akin to that.
Yeah, same tax bracket.
Yeah, that's like an interesting part of Los Espookys is that Julio Torres' character is super rich. You know, he's like part of this chocolate empire, and but at the same time, like, he's hanging out with his friends and, you know, doing really scrappy things, getting by day.
I think it's kind of an interesting choice to make him like a chocolate, like prince, as he says, because I think that is that little tinge of Julio that just says, okay, you can have any level, any which way of making hella money. Why not just make it something cute like chocolate? I say that with the full understanding of Nestle being just one of the most evil companies ever.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely get that cutesy stuff with the chocolate.
And Juan Carlos being the cookie prince.
Yeah, and I love the casualness of the queerness in the show, both with those two characters, but also with Ursula, where you see post hookup, she basically just like pushes the girl she had sex with out the door.
Carmencita.
Yeah, Carmencita. Yeah, she Carmencita is like, oh, so are we together now? And then Ursula's like, you have a lot to learn.
It's called a pump and a dump, baby.
Oh god. So yeah, the characters are chaotic, but not in a way that's like extremely in your face.
In the way Marcy is.
I guess so. Yeah. But yeah, I definitely appreciated like the episodic engine that the show has, because one of my pet peeves about TV these days is it just feels like one big blob. But it's a show where like every episode had its own like, okay, this is like the job that we have to pull off. But at the same time, it did have these bits of serialization that like grew over time, and really everything exploded in the 5th episode, because at the end of the 4th episode, a character basically gets sucked into a mirror, and after that, it like all the bits of surrealism can just like go wild and bounce off each other.
Yeah. And another one that is part of that same story is a demon that haunts Andres, Julio Torres' character. That demon is very specifically the shadow of water. Mm-hmm. And they have this little like back and forth about what it means and why that demon is within him. So yeah, it has like multiple levels and multiple little serializations going.
Yeah, Julio is an Aquarius like me, which is why both in Los Espookys and Fantasmas, he's able to like communicate with the water.
Yeah, water demon.
Yeah,
I've never seen your water demon.
It'll come out when it needs to.
Okay.
Maybe during the live show.
Okay. Okay. If you are a priest listening in, maybe I expect a call.
Yeah. Speaking of priests, we have the exorcism in the 1st episode of Los Espookys, and it definitely reminded me of one of my favorite shows from the last few years, Evil, because that's another show where there's like potential for like demons. In Evil, there's 3 characters who are investigating like the source of evil, and they just sometimes do exorcisms, and it's like, is there a demon occupying this man who's screaming, or is he just a misogynist?
What's the diff?
True, and honestly, that's like one of the tensions that the show plays with.
One of the things about Julio Torres' like demon that lives within him is that it's kind of this search to be like even more somber, even more tragic, even more like, dramatic. Mm-hmm. Because every single character wants more and more drama. And I love seeing that pop in and pop out. And talking about the priest, that once again, that kind of little snap about that Julio brings is in that same episode. One priest is kind of like a little peeved that another priest is getting all the attention, and they focus in on the bright lips.
Yeah, the lip gloss.
And then like there's a moment where it's like everybody's just like, oh yeah, no, he does have very bright lips.
Yeah. And honestly,
details.
It honestly makes me want to wear lip gloss more often. Like I feel like people with lip gloss are just more attractive. The only thing about that though is like if I kiss someone, then like the lip gloss will rub off on them, and then I'll just have to reapply it. It feels like capitalism wins either way.
Yeah. There's nothing better to think about while kissing a babe than capitalism.
Yeah, the unavoidable.
I'm personally just thinking of the babe, but you know what, we're different. We're different.
Well, see, I'm thinking,
I'm a demon possessing somebody, and you're just a misogynist.
look, when I'm actually kissing the person, I'm not thinking about capitalism. But right now, I'm thinking about kissing someone, and I'm also thinking about capitalism. Once I'm kissing someone, the thought of capitalism can disappear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, speaking of kissing, there's some attractive people on this show.
Oh my god. Every single person of the main cast is like beautiful.
Yeah.
10-10.
Well, tell me, who do you think is the hottest for you?
Okay, once again, I don't pit women against each other, and because I'm such a feminist, I don't pit men against each other.
Oh, okay.
But Ursula.
Cassandra. Unexpected. See, I thought you were going to go a different direction with that, because that's Ursula to me. Honestly, the first time I watched it, before I knew I was like a sexy, amazing trans lesbian, back when I thought I was like an idiotic straight man.
I can't believe a chyron with that exact phrase just appeared underneath you in the mira esto.
Exactly. Yeah, I was like, okay, I don't like this show that much, but Ursula is hot enough that I'll keep watching.
Oh yeah, no, she's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's wild.
But I know you're pretty into Ronaldo too. Tell me about that.
Very very cute guy. I think personality wise, just incredibly cute. I try not to be horny on main here. I kind of let that be your thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone in Los Espookys is just so, I don't know, just beautiful and funny. They're great.
Yeah.
The four main ones.
Yeah, everyone else. Well, okay, Fred Armisen, not a fan. Not a fan in general. I feel like there was a long time in the 2010s when he would just like pop up in every single sitcom, and I would just like throw tomatoes. I'd be like, enough of Fred Armisen. We don't need him.
You're like, that should be me. I should have this guest spot.
And it's funny because like a lot of his scenes are with Carol Kane in the show, which he had a lot of scenes with her in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And that was like a show where I was like, get Fred Armisen off the screen. Like, I found him funny at times, but the vast majority of the time, I just don't like him.
One of the things about Los Espookys is it's kind of a show about jobs, about gigs and gig working, and like just taking any sort of job that you could get. And because of that, it kind of peels away at this concept that happens very often, which is people look for like the most low rent solution to a real problem that they can find. I see that pop in a lot at the personal, professional, and political level. This kind of like use of a low rent solution for a real problem at the personal level is like the mansion gig where they're trying to scare the son from not accepting the inheritance.
Yeah. See, now I'm just remembering the Pepito gag. That was really funny. But yeah, the mansion. It's really interesting because like oftentimes you get to see like them in a room together trying to scheme how to like do one over on a lot of times people who are richer than them. You know, that you have like the ambassador who you can tell is kind of like a mean girl. And
I think she's very, very much supposed to be like a Barbie. So in some of my research, Julio loved to play with toys as a kid, and one of them being Barbie. I think that's why it's all like pink and kind of like nonsensical. Yeah,
definitely. Like, I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but I love like the color schemes in the show, and I love the way that Julio like changes his hair color for like everything. You know, and this it's very blue, and the way that like blends in with his home with all the blue walls. I love that. Yeah. But yeah, back to what you were saying with the personal. Tell me more.
So like, I guess really like like it's very common, I think, in the after the 2010s to kind of just find the most casual answer to problems. Like I think, or maybe complain about why this answer that is acceptable to a person, to the person complaining, why isn't it being implemented? And I guess I immediately think about like Cubs fans driving into Chicago and complaining about the red line and being like, why isn't there more K9 units just like at the L station that I'm not gonna use?
Yeah, and you see those people like all over the Chicago subreddit talking about how annoying it is to drive in from the suburbs, and we're like, you know what? Maybe you should stay in the suburbs.
And I like, because it's like I just see it. I see Los Espookys as kind of like contractors, like or consultants, just providing some scary solution. Even at the professional level, like I think about the alien gig, where the scientist is like, I'm studying aliens. My research grants are fully subject to my results. I need to present an alien autopsy to my grant givers or government officials.
Yeah, that was very much, we need to bullshit so that they give us more money, and because I haven't actually done what they want me to do, but
because it might be impossible to.
Yeah, exactly. And people with a lot of money, whether it be venture capitalists or CEOs, like they want to believe that something is possible. And you could draw that to like AI or pretty much anything, that like they're going to sink money into it even if it'll be bad for the planet or it can't happen at all. And then, the workers have to make it seem like it's possible.
And when I think AI is the right analogy there, because like AI is just used to kind of like scare everyone. It's just kind of the spooky solution, the spooky bullshit solution that is given to the public, instead of just being like, just hire some more people to do the spreadsheet you need to do or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, there was like a viral tweet today or yesterday about how someone's saying like, oh, do you actually hate AI, or do you just think that AI in the context of capitalism is bad? And then a lot of people were responding like, well, like I can't imagine AI in any other context. This is the only context when something so stupid would be created.
Yeah. Say it with me. What's the diff?
Yeah. So in some ways, the show does remind me of Nathan For You, and that Nathan For You is also a show where Nathan takes these problems a lot of times from like these small business owners and tries to come up with like the kookiest solution possible, both for comedy and potentially to actually help them. And sometimes it works. And there's like because capitalism is so fucking weird, there's no guessing like what's actually going to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that like pops in a bunch. Like Julio, along with Anna, who created this show, really do emphasize the oddity, the weirdness that comes in like corporate life and the corporate system when you blow things up the way that they're blown up in the corporate world, whether that is like well, you know what? I'm thinking of something that pops up in season 2 of Los Espookys, but I don't wanna get into season 2 of Los Espookys. One last thing though, like when I do see this, this kind of use of bullshit, like spooky solutions to real problems, I think at the biggest level, at the political level, the governance level, that happens too. And that happens in many ways. Like, I think about in New York, about how like Eric Adams like spent a fuck ton of money to put these gun detecting systems in the subway that don't work. Because guess what? How can something detect a gun versus anything that's metal, you know?
Yeah. And we're kind of under the parallel. We're facing some of that with ShotSpotter and the mayor finally trying to cancel that, and then the far right parts of city council trying to fight against that.
Yeah, because it's almost like it's easier to just be like, hey, we're gonna put fear into things, and that's gonna be the solution. And in the case of Chicago, it does just look like mass surveillance. Well, more mass surveillance. I think the biggest one that I think Julio would hit upon the most is this idea of like Donald Trump's idea of deporting 15 to 20 million people from the United States on whether or not because they're like here illegally or whatever. Really what it just means is like, if you're black or brown, you're gonna just get shipped off somewhere else. And that's like a real horror. Like that's that's actual horror that is being presented as a solution to a real problem. The problem being white supremacy. But I like Los Espookys. And I don't know if inadvertently or like purposefully, these creators are showing that they're constantly throughout the real throughout reality, there's this actual need for people in power to provide these horror and these spooky solutions.
Yeah, this is making me think about the fact that besides the live show, this is our last episode before the election. So the next time we meet in this apartment to record a podcast, we'll know whether Trump has ascended the throne again or whether it's time for Queen Kamala. But yeah.
And we know which one we want in this house, right?
We want Nomi for president.
Right in. Nomi 2024. If you're allergic to cats, I am still voting. What's your excuse?
I mean, yeah, if Nomi's president, she won't be here anymore. She'll be in the White House, so you won't have to worry about a cat as long as I don't get another one.
Does that mean we'd have to like record in the White House? I don't want to travel that far.
Yeah, like I'm sure that the Pod Save America bros have like recorded an episode in the White House, and like we'll have to use their studio.
You're obsessed.
Just because one of them was on Survivor, and I'm not.
You're obsessed.
Yeah, I think you made a really good point about the way that real horrors are used to try to solve problems. And I feel like with Los Espookys, because, you know, a lot of the problems are smaller scale. I mean, you have something like the sea monster, which is used to try
for tourism.
Yeah. And I love the way that I also like how it originates as like a fetish for Pepito, and then they turn it into something else.
Got to.
Which I feel like probably goes along with what you're saying about Trump. I'm sure a lot of his plans started up in a smoke-filled room with a bunch of white men like talking about their fetishes, and then like eventually they're like, oh, what if we make this a law?
Yeah. I mean, I would almost go as far as to say that it's easier to like nowadays. It's easier to find like what's the most horrifying thing you could think of, and then work backwards to a solution from that. And I think that is generally the way that solutions are made in a huge sector of legislators and people in power.
Yeah, unfortunately, people don't start off with like, what if we dreamed of a world without police? What if we dreamed of a world without capitalism? They start with like, well, this is the world we exist in. How do we take our existing resources that uphold white supremacy and give them more money?
That's right. I would personally just give more money to the creative types in New York and especially in Chicago.
Of course, yeah. A few more things before we move on from Los Espookys. I want to ask you about a specific joke, the joke about Tati's accent and how it differs from the other characters. Because I thought that was definitely a joke where they weren't catering to the white English-speaking audience.
Yeah. So the joke is actually Andres, Julio's character, is meeting Ana Figuera's character, who's named Tati. And Tati mentions where they can kind of meet up to have their planning sessions. And then Andres says, why do you speak like that? Why do you have that accent? So before I explain it, I want to know, when you hear the characters speak in Spanish, what do they sound like to you accent-wise? Do they all sound similar? Do they all sound, like if like a Southern person to like a Wisconsinite?
Yeah, I will say that I feel like I didn't really notice big differences before that, and then afterwards I tried to like deduce some of the differences, and I was like, okay, yeah, I can hear that like Tati sounds a little bit different, but yeah, I feel like I was mostly focused on, especially because I'm someone who has learned some Spanish both in school and Duolingo, but I'm very far away from
no free ads. I'm gonna beep that.
I'm very far from being an expert. I feel like a lot of the times I'm just focusing on like trying to match the Spanish that they're speaking with the English in the subtitles and vice versa when someone's speaking in English, that I'm not even focused on like trying to deduce what each person's accent is like.
It's like everyone has a different accent.
Uh-huh.
This isn't like a regional accent. Like no one sounds like they are from one area. And that is especially true when it comes to Tati. She sounds Spanish. She sounds like she's from Spain, at least to my ears and to two other people that I asked for their opinion. Renaldo has just very clearly a Mexican accent. He also throws around a bunch of Mexican slang. And so does Ursula. And Andres doesn't. Andres speaks in an accent that is very much a very clear and plain Spanish language, Latin American Spanish. But yeah, I just really liked it because watching this again, I'm just like, why is she speaking like a Spaniard? What is this?
Yeah.
Why is Marcy, the colonizers here?
Yeah. And then the other thing I want to talk about was I really like the way that after they have a flashback, they'll comment on the fact that there was a flashback and sometimes comment on like, oh, the costumes are really good for that. Because I feel like it's one of the first ways you really start seeing like the surrealism in the show. Like, because at the beginning, the only real surreal aspect is the fact that like Andres has this kind of jewel he can see what Juan Carlos does in, and you could even see that as like a metaphorical thing. But then it's like, oh, people are like, if they're in a car and they flash back, everyone in that car is going to see that flashback.
You see, I like the magical realism that pops in. I actually think that every single Spanish language Latin American piece of media that we covered has magical realism in it. I like that jewel. I also like just at one point Tati talks about how she perceives all of time at the same time, arrival style, and a couple of other things here and there with the cursed mirror also. I like the magical realism that pops in and out. You know what I don't like?
What?
When they do comment on things like, oh, why did he? Those were good costumes, or in the conversation with the demon about like the specificity of the name, Shadow of Water, not Shadow in Water. I just, and that kind of pops in and out throughout Los Espookys, and I just kind of hate that. It just reminds me of like this. It's my biggest pet peeve. It just feels like the whole 2010s were just people showing me something and then telling me the exact moment it's finished what happened, and I'm like, I got eyes, I got a brain, I'm not just beauty, I am not just brawn, I'm brains too.
Yeah, I didn't mind that as much. I think I am someone who historically likes meta humor a lot more than you. If I were to pick something that I didn't like about Los Espookys season 1, I think that the King's Speech jokes got a little bit old. I feel like they didn't have enough meat on the bone for what they did with that.
I get that. It was like 10 years after the King's Speech, so like it was actually I think that was the perfect time to make that kind of joke.
Yeah.
But now in the further future, I'm like, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. Let's start talking about my favorite shapes, which is Julio Torres's comedy special. So I watched this with a friend, and I think it really enhanced my viewing. Like, especially because there was one point where my friend paused and was like, "Oh, are you familiar with these little penguin things?" And then, like, when the penguins got stuck, she's like, "Oh." But yeah, this was like a really unique special where most of it, Julio is just sitting, and he's having his shapes come up on this cute little conveyor belt, and he's talking about them to the audience. And he starts out simple with like a rectangle that has a chip taken off, and it gets more surreal and more Julio Torres-y as it goes. What did you think of my favorite shapes?
There's a lot of jokes that I liked. There's like a moment where I think the pernickettiness of Julio Torres really jumps out when he talks about the job of a curtain. Talks about like, what does a curtain in a basement do? Nothing. It's just there to hide the reality that they're in a basement. Then he like follows it up with like talking about the worst job a curtain can have, which is the curtain that like separates business or first class to just the economy class of the airplane. I really like that. I really like that one because it just hits on that like level of detail of what is the purpose of this? Nothing. And what is the usefulness of this? Nothing. But what does it represent? The further like dislocation in between the classes. And I thought that was very funny. I really liked that joke.
Yeah. And also, there's a lot of like recurring bits throughout these three pieces of art. The curtains that open to nowhere, that recurs in the first scene of Fantasmas. So I appreciated seeing that.
There's also a section later on where there's a little swan that is used to represent something greater, and Julio actually makes that same joke in Los Espookys, where he puts a little swan in a briefcase and nothing else.
Yeah, and I know that some people could say like, "Oh, he's just repeating himself," but it's like
that's me. I just said that. You could
me,
just say AP. You just said that.
I actually like that he's doing this because it shows like how the ideas that we have, just because we've like put them in something doesn't mean they're going to go away. They're like a lot of directors, whether it be the lens flare with J.J. Abrams, or other things, like the things that are in their mind are going to keep coming out, and that I feel like that's kind of like what makes them an auteur. And for me, Julio Torres is someone who all of his work pushes what's acceptable. Like it pushes what you're used to seeing. Like he often identifies himself as niche, but he's he's bringing the niche to HBO. He's bringing it to a place where more people can see it. Not everyone is going to like it, but he's putting the light on it.
Do you like that niche? Like, is the nicheness like a positive, like a big old sign that says we're open? Do you walk into that?
I do. I like it a lot. And when I was watching My Favorite Shapes, it made me think that not just being an Aquarius, there are some similarities between Julio and I. Like, I think we both like getting wacky with it. A lot of the stories I write, I like to go down weird rabbit holes. And I really like the way that he just like commits. And he's like, this is what I want to do, and I don't care if you don't like it. He's gonna like put a weird crystal on a chair, and he's gonna make a chair for every little weird thing that he makes.
So the nicheness there, like, to me, works a lot, because he never just throws the niche out and says fuck you if you don't understand it. He like grabs your hand and he like very quickly walks with you to the niche.
Yeah. I mean, you can definitely see that in the way that it starts with like a rectangle and these other simple shapes, but pretty soon he's on to like the dioramas and the concepts like you said with the curtain. And yeah, like it made me think about like, because I think one of the big themes in Los Espookys season 1 is this idea that you can't achieve your dream on your own. You can't just like leave your friends and go to LA and make a movie with your idol. You have to actually.
You're staring directly at me when you're saying that. I would never leave you, Marcy. I would never.
Yeah, I can't imagine seeing you in LA. Like. You would like love the party scene for like one night and then you would hate it.
Too much driving.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting with my favorite shapes because there's this central figure of Julio and it kind of presents it as it's all coming from his mind. But at the same time that there are all these other people who worked on it, all these other people you see in the credits. You see
Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone, your favorite.
I was gonna say your favorite, Lin-Manuel Miranda.
No, that's your favorite.
No, that's your favorite. I haven't seen Hamilton. I haven't seen Moana.
You're over here like Tim Kaine in The Membrane.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, like there's this whole company that makes the dioramas, and like you can go on their website and be like, oh, I could get a diorama just like the one in My Favorite Shapes. But yeah, I like the tension between those two things in My Favorite Shapes. Yeah, I think that like I know that off mic you said that an hour of it was maybe a little bit much for you.
Okay, I like all right. Just put me here, put me in the chair like I'm a crystal. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny to me because like you can watch like 2 seasons of Los Espookys, which like that totals to like 12 episodes, 30-minute episodes. But you're like 60 minutes? Nah, that's too much.
I think just as a conceit, the special is way more biographical in a way that to me just kind of gets tiresome. I also like I also kind of like can't help but feel like when you make a joke and then you follow it up with the exact same joke but in a different way, and then you do that a third time, like sometimes that just like takes my attention away, because like I'm an attentive listener, so like I can see the punchline coming.
Yeah.
And although Julio is a great comedian, like once you start seeing the internal mechanism of the special, you just kind of the charm is just a little bit lost.
Yeah, I can see that. I think a lot of his humor like you're almost trying to get it on a more intellectual level than on a pure laugh level. I did laugh throughout the special, but it wasn't like it was like a laugh riot. But one thing I really liked was the moment when he put on the glasses, and then, he's talking about how there's like a delay between what's actually happening and what's on the screen, and he's like, it's a vision into the past. And then I love the moment where he like warped across the stage. So I really like that stuff. I think that stuff prevented it from becoming like the same boring thing throughout the entire thing. The fact that he added a little bit of variety.
He's clearly someone who wants to do multiple forms of comedy within the allotted time he has, because there are 3 sketches in this special, and that's fine and all. And I see just this desire for variety throughout his whole oeuvre that I've seen in the last 3 weeks. That he wants that. He wants that, and he's good at that. And even though that there's like breaks in different ways of delivering jokes, to me it just still felt like it felt a little, in kind of a sad way, in a way that I wish I didn't see it like this. It might be just too much Julio. That's why kind of Fantasmas, the third piece that we're going to talk about, I stopped after 1 episode.
Yeah. So with Fantasmas, it's interesting because I saw the premiere at the ATX Festival in Austin, and Julio was there. So I saw the first 2 episodes with an audience. And I will say Fantasmas episode 1, my initial viewing of that is the best experience I've ever had with a Julio Torres entertainment. I think part of that is because I had the audience with me, and experiencing the audience reaction was like a lot of fun. Like when we started seeing the TV, and we're seeing this parody of Alf, and just like the insane places it goes, and hearing the audience laugh and also gasp at certain points was just a lot of fun for me.
Well, to me, I realized almost immediately once the second scene of this parody happened, when Paul Dano, which is a jump scare for me, is talking to Malf, and they're just rummaging in the dark. I immediately understood that there's gonna be some sort of love happening there, some sort of illicit love happening there. And to me, like, because I understood that's where it was going, I was checking out. I was checking my phone. I was thinking of how I needed to write some stuff, and then what got me, which I think this is kind of the magic that Julio has overall, is that he finds a way to deliver a different, a variety in the jokes. Because I think the strongest joke in that Malf skit was the fact that like Paul Dano's character is homophobic while fucking an alien.
Yeah, Julio definitely knows how to like add that little zazzle at the end that takes you unexpected. I remember watching, like, there's like an older woman a few seats away from me. After we watched the Fantasmas episode, she was like, "Well, I'm not sure if I like it, but I like that they're making something like this." And I think, like, especially at...
She just said that?
Something
out
like
loud?
that. Yeah. To her friend.
Okay.
Because I feel like... The thing about this is I feel like...
Did you follow her to Boise, Idaho? Like, what? Like, how did the most
there are
middle
normies at this festival for sure. There, people who like Everwood and Dawson's Creek and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So it did feel subversive, like in this TV festival. And I understand what you mean that like you saw it coming, but I think I'll say, I mean, for me, if I'm watching a TV show or a movie, my phone is out of reach. I'm not going to be reaching for that. But
you don't want to know what's in reach.
God damn it. No. The only thing in reach is Nomi, and please don't make jokes about fucking Nomi. Okay.
I will be editing that.
Yeah, with Fantasmas, because I watched Fantasmas before I watched My Favorite Shapes, like I definitely saw that there's this like evolution of Julio's work getting weirder and weirder. Like there's definitely you can definitely see like the sketch background, the SNL effects in these shows, but to me it feels like SNL. I don't want to watch that shit. Like, if there was an SNL show that was just Julio's writing, maybe I want to watch that, but I don't want to see Colin Jost like the jokes that he's writing. But I feel like Julio, he's really able to just like go to the absurd. And I really liked the Steve Buscemi sketch where he's playing the letter Q.
I also really like that one.
Yeah. I love the way that it builds a world throughout that sketch. And you learn like what all the letters of the alphabet are doing, and like the moment where like the X, Y, and Z are getting famous and like he's gonna like commit suicide, and then he can't because the walls are too close together, and then finally they start saying like, oh, we couldn't do this without Q. I love that Julio puts so much thought into every little thing.
And he does it quick, as he said. Like he does it quick, like because that is, I think, about a 2-3 minute sketch, and he puts a heart in this sketch, because you can read it as just like a silly little like concept of, oh, isn't Q, wouldn't it be funny if Q was like a depressive weirdo that is avant-garde or whatever. But you can also read that as the feeling of an elder queer feeling like their time or their presence fighting for either more acceptance or creating a bigger space for them to live in, only to see people come in later and skyrocket further, quicker. That's sort of like a possible resentment that might arise from that, but also just kind of like a major love in between, those elder queers and the new generation, and how there is like an interchange of love and understanding in between that, along with the artistic side of that too.
Yeah, like you could definitely think about a lot of Julio Torres' work is opening doors for younger queer people. For Nomi has opinions on this.
Homophobic opinions.
He's opening doors for more like Latin creators who can just make the wackiest things possible. It does make me think about how I do worry that HBO thinks like, okay, we put Julio Torres' show on our streaming platform, Max. That means we're good now. That means we don't have to, we don't need anything else. We can just make a bunch of Game of Thrones spin-offs, keep making Last Week Tonight. We got our one little niche thing. Why would we need to make more?
Yeah. I don't know, but I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I will refuse to think about David Zaslav right now. So,
talk about boner killers.
I'm gonna take what you said and just go ahead and do a 92-degree pivot to say it. I think there's always a need to have people push the boundary somewhere, anywhere. I think Cole Escola does that with Oh Mary. I think about also one of the things that I usually like bring up with you is this feeling that I want to see people challenge the status quo or move the needle somewhere. And I don't know how much Julio would feel like he's doing that. I think he is doing it. And I also think that there's a little bit of sadness within me seeing that this is the level of acceptable weirdness in the grand scale of entertainment. Not to be an episode of only callbacks, but I think about Richard Pryor in our episode about him, and how in that special where he gave an applause break to the Black Panther chair that was sitting in the audience. And I don't think Julio needs to do something that similar. I think it's okay to want to have Steve Buscemi be an elder queer in a sitcom. I just wonder if the larger centralization of corporate power has caused us to feel like this is the brink. And I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. That like we're fed so much slop that once we get anything that doesn't look like slop, I should use I statements here. That like what
thank you.
I'm fed so much slop that when I see something that doesn't look like slop, I'm like, oh damn, this is really pushing the boundaries. But you don't really see any mainstream TV shows saying free Palestine. You don't see. I do like that this show it does feel like an anti-capitalist show to me. It's a show that's like critiquing the way that systems make it so that people who actually try to subvert the systems like get kind of pushed. Like I think the opening scene is a really good example of this, where he's wearing this like big party hat and he doesn't want to go outside and wear the same clothes as everyone else, but the walls are closing in around him and it feels like he has no choice. And the way that he's continuously getting these urgent letters from his landlord, and the way that he needs to prove the proof of existence. I think all these things are critiquing the capitalist system that we live in, but I also hear you that it could, like, we should always be asking for more and not just settling for what we're given.
Yeah, that's what Chaperone said. So Julio, and in my research, I think it's clear that he is very happy to make these critiques. And I think these critiques don't come from a place of like snooty intellectualism, because one of the things that he does a lot is just criticize American culture. And I as a Latino, I think it comes from his time growing up in El Salvador, where in more in places outside of the United States, it's way more common to just hear simple critiques of capitalism or colonialism, and for that not to be scandalous or be placed in a higher bracket of conversation outside of what is allowed in public or polite company. I think it has to do a lot with him not being born and raised in the United States.
Yeah, and that's just proof that we need even more shows from perspectives that don't come from someone born in the United States. It can't just be Julio. And of course, it isn't. So I'm excited to talk about even more in the future. But yeah, I do want to touch on one more thing. I know we don't want to spoil. I know we don't want to get too much into season 2 of Los Espookys, but what you just said reminded me of something that you told me off mic about this idea of this.
I am so smart off mic, y'all. You have no clue.
This idea of like Pan-Latin-Americanness and how that showed up in that show. Can you talk more about that?
Sure. One of the things that I just want to mention is that in Los Espookys season 1, it kind of just feels like the place where they are is Mexico. Fred Armisen's character is in Los Angeles. And, there's a huge cultural transfer in between Mexico and the United States, right? But neither Julio Torres or the other co-creator outside of Fred is Ana Falgueira are Mexican. Julio's Salvadorian, and Anna's parents are from Panama. And in season 2, what happens in this storyline of someone running for president, they bring in this fictional flag that has the colors red, green, and yellow with a sigil in the middle of this. Those colors are very common in that general like Central America, Northern South America region. And it just hits upon this idea that we talked about earlier, where the accents are varied. It's not just the Naco accent of the Mexico City, or it's not the Regio accent of northern Mexico. It's a wide variety of them. And I like how it provides this larger sense of unity and solidarity amongst the Latin American countries. And I really like that.
Yeah.
And although that is not the most popular thing, I can tell you there are countries in South America, in Central America, that don't like Mexico, not because Mexico's bad, but because it's complicit in some horrible things. It's just nice to see this sense of, hey, we're all kind of living this experience of being Latin American immigrants, and we're also kind of have this general culture amongst us that we share and that we can enjoy together.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I think historically a lot of TV shows have kind of, and a lot of Hollywood in general has treated people, Latin American people, as all the same. And like, there's been a lot of critiques of like, why are you casting this person for this role when like that's not like what their nationality is at all. But it sounds
why are you casting Javier Bardem, a Spanish actor, as a Mexican?
Yeah, but it sounds like from what you're saying that Los Espookys was able to really create something unifying that didn't feel like it was just flattening identities and really made you feel that solidarity.
And not in a nationalistic way either. Just in a sense of like, we're chill together. Let's be chill together.
Yeah. This conversation has made me want some TV shows on American streaming platforms about like socialism in Latin American countries. Like that's where we need the boundaries to go.
I really like Julio Torres. I'm excited to see some of his work. I really am happy that he shares a love for Tilda Swinton, just like I do. I like his stories. Like, clearly we can't cover everything, so please go out and watch his stuff. I might be watching him live soon too.
Yeah, he's going to be in Chicago the day this podcast comes out and also the day afterwards. So if you're a quick listener, maybe you can find some tickets somewhere.
Scoot on over. But you can find us everywhere under Dovewhether. You can find us in
Instagram.
You can find us in
YouTube. You
can find us in your mom's contact number. You can find us in your mom's contact. I am very grateful that you heard from us. Please give us 5 stars.
And rumor has it we got a live show coming up.
If you are Paul Dano, who enjoys having extramarital sex with an alien, I have the perfect live show for you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Paul Dano is really into that untamed shit.
That is our live show at Ostap on October 17th, starting at 6:30 p.m. at the low price of free.
Yes, right. You don't got to pay anything to see us. Not yet.
And we will, as Marcy said, we will be covering The Untamed by Amat Escalante.
You can watch it on Tubi.
For free. Use an ad blocker.
Yeah, there are ads. Wait, I didn't know that was an option to watch Tubi with an ad blocker.
Oh, yeah. I'll go ahead. You know, this is kind of the part of the episode where nobody pays attention. But I don't have HBO. I don't have Max. David Zaslav got 0 money from me. You can connect the dots there. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.